get us underway this morning, it's been confirmed that the body of Alana Cutland, a university student who jumped to her death from a small plane, you may remember the story over the weekend, during a study trip to Madagascar.
There have been various suggestions that her death might have been the result of a psychotic episode caused by the anti-malaria tablets she was taking. So today we're asking, what are the dangers of these drugs? Are they safe to take?
Well, joining us is Professor James Logan, who's an expert in tropical diseases. He's alongside Army veteran, former Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Marriott, who took the anti-malarial drug Lariam for a year while deployed in Sierra Leone, and for the medical perspective on all of this, we've got Dr. Ranj as well. So, first of all, Andrew, from your point of view, this deployment, taking this drug, you believe you still live with the legacy of that drug all these years on?
Yes, I do indeed. I suffer from a condition that's been diagnosed as nightmare disorder, but from the outset, regardless of whatever may have caused this is clearly a dreadful time for Alana's family. And having been involved in these sorts of incidents, whether they are caused by anti-malarials or operational service, I can understand exactly what they're going through. But yes, this is, in my experience, a really very nasty drug. I took it and have had an enduring legacy of a condition called nightmare disorder. So that causes me disturbed sleep every night. And I will have very vivid dreams, and at least a number of those will be what would fall into the nightmare category.
And how long has this been going on? When did you start taking this drug?
I started taking the drug in December 2002 and have had disturbed sleep ever since.
Ever since?
Yes, and my sleep profile has been confirmed by sleep consultants.
I mean, you were given the anti-malaria drug. You were based in Sierra Leone during the Civil War.
Yeah.
How many years were you there?
I was there for 1 year taking Lariam, and I went back for a second-year service.
So everybody was prescribed Lariam who was stationed there. When you first took it, did you notice an immediate adverse effect?
Yes. Unfortunately, it was the default drug. Everybody was required to take it. We were made aware that there were a range of side effects. And in fact, these side effects are now recognised as being warning signals of a much more dangerous event. And this is what needs to be made public, is that you don't need to have a psychotic event or suffer nightmares. Even something as ostensibly mild and unthreatening as confusion or restlessness may be a warning that you must come off the drug immediately. But from our operational perspective in Sierra Leone, it was having a very detrimental effect on the conduct of operations. People with losses of memory, anger management, disturbed sleep, even dizziness, blurred vision. And that would have been across 25 to 30% of the population. And quite clearly, it's incompatible.
So when you were getting these adverse side effects, did you go straight to the medics and say, I can't take this,
yes.
This is having a terrible effect on me?
I did. And actually, I was also concerned about my team, because I learned that they were throwing away their anti-malarials rather than take them. And this is when the rather dark story begins to emerge, because the senior medical officer advised me that there was no other alternative anti-malarial. Yeah. I subsequently found out that was untrue. Well,
that brings us to the big question, James, from your point of view as an expert in tropical medicine. If the soldiers are throwing away their anti-malarial drug because they're worried about the side effects, which is worse, the side effects or getting malaria?
Well, I mean, malaria is a really important disease. It's a very dangerous disease. Half the world's population is at risk from the disease. One child dies every 2 minutes. We know that 1,500 people come back to the UK every year with malaria. And if you get it, there's a very high chance that it will be fatal. So it's a very, very serious disease. So you have to weigh up the risk of where you are, what you're doing, how much malaria is in the location that you're in. And if there is any malaria, then the recommendation would be to take anti-malarials. But there is a choice of anti-malarials. So, there are more reports of these types of events with something like Lariam.
I mean, Ranj, there will be people watching, maybe, who are planning a trip. We don't want to scaremonger. We don't want to worry people. If they know they're going somewhere where there's potential for malaria and they come to you and say, what medication? Are there alternatives? What's your advice?
Well, that's it. As James, exactly as you said, if you're going to a malaria-prone area, take precautions. You know, anti-malarials can reduce your risk by about 90%, and malaria is a significant illness. Obviously, take other precautions as well, mosquito nets, being careful at certain times of day, etc. As soon as you know you're going abroad, go online or go to your GP or a travel advice clinic and get some advice. There are several options of anti-malarials out there. Exactly what you get prescribed depends on your individual circumstances, things like age, whether you're pregnant, whether you're on other medications, whether you've had reactions to medications before, and what your medical history is yourself and your family's medical history.
Do you have a chance to take it before you go, see how it affects you?
Yeah.
And if it affected you adversely, and the symptoms that we've been talking there to Andrew, can you come off it and go on to something else? Do you have time to do that?
Several million doses of anti-malarials are prescribed worldwide, and the safety profile for most of them is very, very good. We do recommend with some of them that you start taking it before you go, just to see if you do get any side effects, Lariam being one in particular. There are certain specific situations where Lariam should not be used. If you've got a history of mental health problems, epilepsy, seizures, for example, if you've got a family history of psychiatric reactions as well, and we do recommend usually that you take that for at least 3 weeks before you go to see if you've had any side effects. But remember, there are alternatives available. If you're worried, then there may be another option for you if you're worried about that particular medication.
And what about for Andrew, who believes, you know, 17 years on, he's still suffering the side effects?
Well, this is the important thing. So all medications have side effects, and certain side effects may be potentiated depending on where you are and what you're doing potentially. So a side effect for someone who's deployed in a war zone may be much more significant than potentially somebody else. But I'm not belittling any
And did you
symptoms
stop
that people
taking
may
it,
get.
Andrew, once you got these symptoms? Did you think I
No,
need to...
because I was told it was the only anti-malarial that was available, and this is the problem, that the Ministry of Defence continued to use it as the default anti-malarial until as late as 2015 in sub-Saharan Africa. And it has been since implicated in a number of veteran suicides and possibly civilian suicides. And what we need is a much greater public awareness, ranging from proper engagement by ministries such as the Ministry of Defence and the Department of Health, and also coroner's investigations, because actually in veteran suicides, we know that this has been brought to the attention, the implication of Lariam has been brought to the attention of coroners, but they have declined to include it. That's got to stop. What we need is a proper investigation. And as I think as these two gentlemen would agree, proper scientific investigation as to what is causing it.
Well, the Ministry of Defence said they take guidance, as you pointed out, there from Public Health England, the World Health Organization and other respected bodies who continue to recommend Lariam or MEFLOQUINE.
Right. They've said that for years, and it's actually a misleading statement, and they have misled the public and Parliament serially for 20 years.
OK, so what would you suggest, James?
Well, as Ran said, the key is that you get medical advice before you travel. So although there are some side effects in some people with this drug, not in everybody, and actually not in the majority of people that take the drug, the key is to go to a travel clinic or your GP, speak to a travel health nurse, get the advice. Now, there's really important reasons to do that. One is so that they can ask you about your health and whether you're taking any other drugs that might react with the drugs that you might be given for malaria, but also to understand where you're going, because malaria parasites have become resistant to some drugs. So, for example, Lariam wouldn't be recommended for Southeast Asia because the parasites are resistant there, so you would take another type of drug. But not just that, you have to also get vaccinations and various things as well. So we recommend 8 weeks before you travel, you should visit a travel clinic.
To give yourself plenty of time.
Absolutely. And also take a good repellent. Some malaria mosquitoes bite during the day and outside. So even if you're taking anti-malarials, they're about 90% effective. You still have to wear a really good repellent, one that contains DEET or PMD, and use a bed net, cover up, avoid dawn and dusk times and that sort of thing. So very careful.
Guys,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. And hope you stay well, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Thank you.